this is the Incra Mast R-Lift 2 and the AukTools router to go in it. And my, she's a lump. This looks beautifully made. Absolutely gorgeous. Everything on the top is really clear, easy to see and read. The main difference, of course, between this and the old one is the old one was made to fit a plunge router, and this one's made to fit a round-bodied router. So let's have a look at the router. The router I chose is the one complete with the remote control switch. I was lucky enough to be able to speak with Peter prior to buying it at Woodworker's Workshop and asked his advice, and this was it. It's got that good quality cable on it, similar to the type you find on the Festool kit. Nice set of spanners. My, that is large. You get 3 collets with it by the looks of things. Oh no, 2 collets, 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch, I think. And a spare set of brushes. That's a lot bigger than I expected it to be. That is absolutely huge. There's some Allen keys that come with the base. Set of plates. They're the standard plates. And these are the extra plates that I ordered with the downdraft holes in them for greater dust removal. And of course a nice set of fitting instructions. So I'll peruse said documentation and come straight back. So the Book of Worms says that the first thing I've got to do is to level the plate in the table, which doesn't appear to be too arduous a task. So we have a little bag here full of grub screws and an Allen key, and also there's an offset locking nut bolt thingy. So this offset jobby nut thingy goes in here, so that when you're happy with everything you can just tighten it into place, and with it being offset it'll lock the plate into the top of the table. These little grub screws go in here and contact the hex head bolts that are in the table. I'll show you them in a tick. So with all of those installed, I can now drop it into the table and begin leveling. So the grub screws that you've just seen me install in the plate sit directly on top of these, so they've got a good base to register against. Now it's just a case of starting at a corner, leveling bit by bit as I go until it's completely flush. Okay, so that's flush all round just using these 4. Now I'm just going to lower these down until they make contact, but not so that they lift the plate any. Okay, that wasn't too bad at all. With my plate now perfectly level, my next job is to wind the router lift up to the top so that the lift itself just touches these rubber grommets rings right here. I've got to say, the mechanism is so silky smooth. It's unreal compared to the last one. This is like it's gliding on butter. And there we go. So first step before I attempt to slide the router in is to make sure that these clamping blocks are in the right place. Once again, the manual gives a list of routers and the settings that the blocks need to be located in, and here are the letter and number assignments of the various block placements. Mine's in the right place, which is probably because I ordered it all at the same time, and those wonderful people at Woodworker's Workshop have set it up for me. So I've slackened off the clamping knob and I'm ready to slide my router into place. And the router just slides in until the bottom of the router touches the back of the plate. Incidentally, if your router doesn't have a remote switch, or you haven't ordered one with the remote switch assembly, then at this point you need to decide which way round you want the router to go so that you can still get to your on-off switch. And there she is. I'll snug that up. Or rather, it's quite bizarre, undo it. And that is as snug as a bug in a rug. So I've dropped the plate and router into the table. And now I'm just on to the wiring. I won't spend an awful lot of time on the wiring, as everybody's situation's going to differ. However, some points to note: that the unit comes pre-wired, and I've just popped the top off, and that bemuses and confuddles me, as I have no electronics capability in my body whatsoever. So I'm not going to attempt to play with that in any way, shape or form. So what I've done is just unscrewed this back panel that I've got on my old table and gouged out a place for the cable to go so that I could bring the switch through to the front. And last job before I fire it up and see what it sounds like is to adjust this little slide-in plate so it sits up against the side of the recess in the table. Well, that's the installation complete. And I must say, so far, everything about this piece of kit is absolutely delightful. Even the spanners are a joy to use because they're wrapped in, feels like a piece of industrial heat shrink or PVC. Just makes it that little bit nicer on the hands when you do it up. The lift itself glides. It's one finger and there isn't even any noticeable pressure. That is absolutely exquisite, beautiful. As I said earlier, the markings on the top are really easy to read, etched white on black. They're just a joy. And operation of each bit is with the same tool. Again, something that I love. The previous one required this to remove the plate, this to wind up and down, and then this to lock. Whereas with this one, that's the tool to adjust the height, and that's also the tool to lock it. And if all of that's not enough, you can even buy these magnetic plates for all the different sizes, complete with additional downdraft slots so that you can get maximum extraction. In case you hadn't noticed, I'm delighted. Well, that about wraps it up for this video. Proof of the pudding's in the eating, I'm sure you'll agree. So you can expect a few router table projects coming up in the near future as I put this through its paces, and then I'll report back afterwards. Thanks very much for watching, and see you next time. Ta-ra!